Okay, hi everyone. This is Miss Amenta and Yarragon Primaries 3 through to 6's first art class for term 2. And what we will be looking at this term is nature. So I'm going to give you a few seconds, 10, to think about what nature is and what I might mean by nature. Have a think. 10 seconds. So if you were somewhere around leaves, feathers, sky, trees, that kind of thing is nature, then you are in the ballpark. Nature is anything that the earth has created and that the weather looks after. So we are looking at things like, yes, trees and leaves and grass and the ocean and shells and rocks and pebbles, anything that belongs to this earth. Now, for example, I have some leaves here that are from a deciduous tree, which means they drop them during autumn. So you can see that the weather, the autumn weather, plays a big role in how these particular leaves and how other leaves that you see now falling all over the ground in the life of the tree and how important it is for them. So nature, everything in nature has a purpose. It has a role to play. So nothing is born out of nature that just hangs around and says, hey, I'm just hanging around looking pretty. It's usually got a job to do. For example, a tree has a job of producing oxygen, as we know, but it also has the role of housing and feeding lots of animals. Grass, you might think one blade of grass, but a whole army of blades of grass make a lawn, and that lawn is perfect for crickets and other insects. And lawn, the roots of lawn, hold together the soil to stop it from drying out. And it also feeds animals as well, as we know. So everything in nature has a purpose, has a point to it. The opposite of nature are things that are made by people. For example, this bucket here, this is a plastic bucket and it's made in a factory and it's made by humans, humans and now machines as well. So plastic is not found in nature, it's a chemical that's made by people. So there are other things that are made by people but come from nature, like this chair behind me here. So wood is found in nature, but we've fashioned it so that it has a purpose and is now a chair. So nature, how does nature fit in with art? Well, before cameras were invented, art had a huge role in being able to tell people about what was going on in the world. And it was also used before books were printed as well, to be able to document things that were happening. So artists had a big role there. And one of the things that they documented was nature, what was happening outside. So a beautiful sunset or a sunrise, a massive storm on the ocean, or a really, really thick forest with lots of beautiful trees. Those were the things that inspired artists to make artworks. And then view those artworks so everybody could have access to and share and enjoy those images that artists produce from nature. So nature has always been an inspiration for artists. The other thing that nature does with art, or how nature interacts with art, is we can make things out of nature. We can make baskets. A lot of crafts were originally made from nature. Before we had man-made things, we had lots of weaving with particular grasses so that people could make baskets. We used all sorts of things out of nature. And today, even still, we use clothes. I mean, we need clothes, yeah, right? But this fibre here is called cotton, and cotton is a particular plant found in nature. And we've fashioned it to make clothes. So we've put it together and we're able to weave it all together and make garments. And that fashion's to do with art. So other ways we can use it is we can paint with, and as you know at Yarragon Primary, we have those beautiful big rocks, and a lot of you scrape the powder from those rocks, and you use it to make paint. So there we go, the first ever paint that was done in rock caves 60 million years ago. It's the first one in France that they discovered, the most earliest rock painting with that long ago, were done with paint made out of rocks, things like that. Beautiful red and orange ochre rocks. So Aborigines also did that with their rock paintings as well. Use that beautiful ochre colour. So what we are going to be doing this term is a lot of artwork based on nature. Now you're sitting at home, and I'm hoping that you have access to nature of some sort. So whether that's your backyard, front yard, or you can hop on the internet and have a look at some beautiful things, some beautiful images found in nature as well. Have a look at some landscapes, have a look at some plants and things like that for this task if you don't have access to the outside. So what you'll be needing is you'll be needing to go outside, and you'll need to collect at least four different objects found in nature. So here I have, as I showed you before, the elm leaf. Beautiful elm leaf there. Lovely. And I'm also going to use a ginkgo leaf from a ginkgo tree. They are beautiful. Look at the shape. So when we're talking about the elements of art, we're talking about shape, line. Look at this big one. This is from a hydrangea. Shape, line, texture, tone, and colour. There are major ones that we are looking at. And in this task, we'll be using them all. The other thing that I found that I'm going to use is from a bird. Okay. So are humans and animals made from nature? We're not essentially, we are byproducts of nature. So the cells that make our bodies and that make our skeletons and make our skin and our flesh, yes, that all breaks down and is a part of nature too. So this bird feather you can use if you find something like that. The other thing that you might think about using in this task is something like that. Now that's a protea, dried protea flower. Something else that you might wish to use is something like a pine cone there. So try and make those shapes that you're finding a little bit different and unique. And there's no harm in finding, I've got my container here, a rock. Good old, simple, plain, circular pebble. So I've got my handful of things. Now what you will need is you'll need some paper. Doesn't matter how big, but I'm hoping it's at least A4. And if Mum or Dad can somehow gather together some paper for you, or go down to the newsagents, which I believe is still open, and get you a scrapbook, or even Safeway has scrapbooks so that you can use for this term's art class while we're at home. Now, on this piece of paper, you will need to do this. You will need to draw on it with a pencil, grey lead pencil. You'll need to draw on it a crisscross line. So you'll need to go down very, very light. Remember how I always talk about having a really light touch when you're drawing, especially with grey lead. Okay, just the lightest touch, because you don't want that to, just trying to get it there. So a crisscross. Now for you guys, so that you can see it, I'm going to do mine a little bit darker, okay? for you at home. That's what you'll be doing. Cross your page. And then from corner, you've got to go through the middle and down. And through the middle and down. And you are going to be making a mandala using this crisscross here and the objects that you found. Now remember how I spoke about before there were cameras, artists' job was to document things they found going on in their world. So they had to be quite accurate when illustrating. And that kind of illustration is called observational drawing. And you're going to be doing and be challenged with doing observational drawing. So what you will need to do, what you'll need to be needing to do is you need a very pointy grey lead pencil with an eraser, or you can have a separate eraser. You're going to be taking your objects that you have found and you're going to observe them. Have a really, really good look. Have a look at the shape, the art elements of shape. Have a look at the art elements of line. Have a look at the art elements of colour and pattern, which we often call as detail. Yeah? And what you are going to do, I'm going to tilt this so that you can see my paper. Yay! That's good. Stop it wobbling. Stop wobbling. Okay, so you can see my paper there. And what you are going to be doing is you are going to be taking the object that is the biggest or the most simplest object. So I'm going to take my I'm going to take my protea, dead protea flower, and see these lines here? I'm going to take just those 4 lines and I'm going to draw the protea. This is what I want you to do with your one object. It could be the ginkgo, it could be any leaf. Is I'm going to have a really good look at my protea. So I'm looking at it there. And I'm going to draw, first of all, the shape that I see of this protea. Now when you're learning to draw, the best thing you can do is draw shape first. Because shape's the easiest thing our brain recognises is shape. I'm happy with that shape, the outside of the protea. And therefore, because I've got this lovely centre line, I should be able to do, now my brain has registered the shape, very similar. Now this protea has a few little leaves licking out of it. Actually, this side does too. I should have just used a little bit more of my art skills of observation and looking at the detail. Yep, oh, it's got a really tall one there. It comes down like so, down and up and across. Okay, and it finishes there. And this comes down like that. Okay, now it has within it all these other lovely, gorgeous little leaves. One here, 2. That's why you've got to make sure that this line can be rubbed out. For you, I'm going to make sure that, now some of you, I know who you are that are very confident with your drawings. Mia, Ella, Lila, okay, Rodney, you love doing observational drawing and you really enjoy your drawing. So we've got lovely dark lines here. Now it's natural. It's not going to be perfect. It's not a geometric shape. It's an organic shape. So that's going to be my protea shape. And I can see it's got some little dark edges there. It's got some lovely long ones too, which I'm going to add like so. Now those of you that are confident with drawing, will probably find this challenging in different ways, getting all that detail and pattern done. Those of you that are less confident with your drawing, I don't want you to worry so much. It's about having a look at that shape and getting some of those patterns right. Okay, so I've done my protea through that line. What I need to now do is do it again here. And it doesn't have to be the same. It can be slightly different. But if I'm having a good look at the shapes that I'm seeing here and I'm drawing them, I'll hold it up so that you guys can see better of what I'm doing. Comes up like that, and on this side it's actually got a few more licks. What I mean by that is some of the leaves have curled up, and I'm going to fill in that pattern there, and there's more of a pattern. It's almost like when fish scales come out. And there's one there, and the tips are quite dark. Oh, and there's some long ones that have formed through there. Another long one there. The reason why artists would draw things from observation is because there was no cameras. So how would someone know who didn't live in Australia when they got on a boat what a protea was going to look like? So they'd have all these books full of botanical illustrations, illustrations of nature, of animals, of all these things found in nature that you might never get to see in your life because they didn't have aeroplanes either. Imagine never ever getting to see a giraffe. Okay? Whereas we've got images now so we can see all that. There's my second protea drawing there. And what you are going to do is you are going to then draw your protea along this line here and along this one. So you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4 proteas. Now I'm going to pause and I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I'm up to, as you can see, I'm up to my last protea down there that I'm drawing, and I'm just going to fill in that shape. So I've noticed that they have some leaves there, dried petals, so to speak, even though they don't look like petals at the moment. Okay, like so. And then they've got some really long ones coming up there. Now, if you're really struggling, give yourself some time. Be truthful to what you're looking at. If there's a lump there, there's a lump there. Draw it. If there's not, then don't draw it. Just be honest with what you're looking at. And you've got to observe. So this is a task more about observing and being truthful with what you're looking at rather than drawing from your imagination. Okay, so I've got my 4 proteas there. Okay, and it's starting to slowly form a pattern, you see, a symmetrical pattern, and symmetrical means where things are balanced on both sides. So the next thing that you're going to do after that is you're going to take the lines that are down here and you're going to draw another one of the objects that you chose from nature on that line. So this time I'm going to make it my ginkgo leaf. So again, I will just show you what that's going to look like, gang. So I'm going to have a really good look at my ginkgo leaf. I'm going to see that it comes out like so. Oh boy, is it wobbly. And it comes up like that. and goes down. Now, that line is a bit too close to that. Can you see how close that line is? So it's going to be hard to get my Ginkgo leaf in there. So what I might be better to do is make sure that that line is a little bit more to one side. So I'm going to draw my Ginkgo leaf here. More. Ginkgo leaves have these beautiful, like, very gentle lines coming from them. This Ginkgo leaf here, coming through. Okay. And then I'm going to do quickly for you now, observing my Ginkgo leaves. I'm always looking at it. Okay, I'm looking and I'm observing this. I'm looking at the different shapes, the different line work coming up and doing it in there. Now I've had to make it a little bit skew whiff in there. So I'm going to use my rubber. Now you guys with the grey lead can be a bit difficult to see, I realise. But I've taught you also, as you know, that rubbers are important. You can use them in art, and I use mine more often than not. I'm going to rub that line out there. I've got one more Ginkgo leaf to go, and I'm going to put it in here along this line. Yeah? So there's my beautiful Ginkgo leaf in there. Awesome! So now what I notice is I've got a pattern. See that? And now I can continue on. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose another thing. I'm going to choose the leaf, something long this time. And I'm going to have it come up like so. I'm going to have a look at this feather. Ooh, it's got a very pointy end. Observing, observing, observing. I'm going to pop it there. Now I have to try and create symmetry. So I'm going to have a look at that. Leaf. Not leaf. They do look like leaves. Bird feathers. Sometimes. I'm going to make that there. So now I want to do the opposite here. I want a leaf. I want the bird feather. Sorry, I keep calling it a leaf. Leaves are on my mind. I'm going to do this bird feather here. And then to finish my pattern, yeah, I'm going to do it here too. Okay. So, oi, it's quite nice, that one. Okay. Just darkening them up so you guys can see. Now, you've got to give this a go. The only way you can learn to draw from observation and get better at it is through practice, like anything. If you're a footballer, you practice. You don't just get a goal in every time. That takes practice. Everything takes a good amount of practice to learn. So you can't give up. Now, if you need my help, you can contact me via the You Educate Us and ask me any questions that you want about this. Now I'm rubbing out those lines that guided me. Yeah, getting rid of them. Don't need you guys anymore. I have my design, I have my pattern. So I'm rubbing that out. As best as I can, because I made sure they were nice and light. And there we have the start of my mandala. Okay. And that's all you're going to do this class. Next class, we will then look at colouring this in and how to do that using pencil. Okay, so what you'll need for next class is you'll need some Derwent pencils or some good colour pencils so that you can then colour this in using, again, natural colours, and that'll be next class. So enjoy this process, take your time with it, ask me any questions that you need to. Go outside and find whatever you can in your garden, around your front yard as well. All right, I'm pretty sure we're allowed in our front yard and backyard, so that'll give you that opportunity to go do that. And I will be seeing you next Wednesday.